Welcome to your daily scheduled program of how much different words for excrement can your captain recall from the top of his unpeeled potato of a mind. And despite we're not covering a war weapon today, we're practically doing so in spirit, as outside occasional glances into my bathroom mirror, I haven't seen anything this disappointing since leaving Warrior's torch in only place it belongs in.
Know your fucking place, trash!
At least it's keeping Bladesworn warm at night. If you also want to keep Bladesworn warm at night, there are buttons down there that help the channel. And you can also consider supporting me directly like these generous gentlemen do. Anyhow, if I haven't alluded to what I'm thinking about the topic of the video, let me put it straight. I hold Guardian's axe in even lower regard than I hold myself in, which is an insult I reserve for very special occasions. What's so fetid about this weapon though? Let's start with the very auto attack. It takes as much as pressing and holding down your attack button to see that the auto chain of this weapon moves at the speed of protein bar exiting your digestive tract the hard way. It's pretty much the same speed as Warrior's Mace auto attacks, even sharing the animations of the first two hits, and Warrior's Maces are only playable because of dual wielding and aggressive onslaught combination, putting intangible amounts of cocaine in my bloodstream. Guard's Axe though has a special property to its animations. Its power budget is invested into funny little delayed after swings, meaning half of the attack's shagging damage output comes after the initial hit already connects, making the entire chain feel even slower than it actually is. Another stupid feature of this auto chain is that its damage is almost entirely within its third hit. Searing Slash does over 3 times the damage of either of two predecessing attacks, meaning that over 60% of entire auto chain is just the third hit. And before you ask, no! Despite having visibly longer reach, the magical blue axe does in fact not have longer range, meaning it's just there to make the auto attack feel clunkier and less reliable. This weapon's base attack is a prime example of something that was visibly designed to be used in combination with quickness. And that theory is pretty much confirmed considering it came out alongside Firebrand. This third-filled choya vomit is built as if someone designed it with today's warrior in mind. Because honestly, if you don't have boost charge and aggressive onslaught to make your dysfunctional skill do the basic thing it was made to do, you may not even bother giving this thing a chance. And so surprisingly, majority of guard mains don't. Only quote, saving grace on this auto attack is a 1 second long application of 2 stacks of bleeding. We cooked up what's a strong contender for our shittiest auto attack in the game. It's literally Warrior's Mace auto attack but with even more backloaded damage, with additional delays built in and with worse damage to begin with, only to attach shitty condition application as a justification for all of it. Warrior's Mace auto chain fully upkeeps weakness on targets to justify its own shittiness. What's your excuse, Gardax? Bleeding ain't none of it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this weapon is already nearing the warrior torch tier of fact, and we're barely through the auto chain. Next skill in the line is Symbol of Vengeance. You might find it familiar if you like Guardian's Sword, because Symbol of Vengeance is practically the same fucking thing as Symbol of Blades, except without the main selling feature. It grants the same boon and deals the same damage. Difference is that using Symbol of Blades teleports you on top of the enemy, so it's a great chasing tool, while Symbol of Vengeance doesn't move you at all, and instead just spawn a little bit in front of you. What does the Symbol of Vengeance have then to make up for that difference? A fucking bleeding application. I'm not kidding. And yes, technically also cripple, but considering it's a symbol we're talking about, it is rather unlikely somebody will willingly stand in it for longer than one tick and make these applications genuinely worthwhile. Sure, you have pull to reel them back in, but you don't really have a good lockdown options to keep them inside afterwards. Will you use sword offhand for the immobilize? Or maybe the pistol offhand for the stun? Either way, is that even worth the hassle? I'm leaning towards no, and so likely are you. Moreover, subtle ways this symbol sucks in don't end here, as, how we already stated, it spawns in front of you, not underneath you. If you pull an enemy with your Axe 3, they'll pretty much see up your nostrils. And so if you slam the symbol after the pull, both you and the enemy you pulled are positioned on the very edge of said symbol. Meaning, the enemy has to make, unironically, one step forward to get out of it. Only potential good from this symbol's placement quirks is that you can aim it towards whichever direction you want the symbol to be placed in, and don't have to haul your ass the entire 3 steps of distance it gives you. But if you want that to be skill's selling feature, you might as well just do the logical thing and make it ground targetable. But hey, we all know better than expecting logic from ArenaNet. The only skill really worth mentioning in this entire package is Axe 3, the pull. Unfortunately, using the thing is doing nothing but putting a bad taste in my mouth. Blazing Edge, on paper, is exactly the same as Snap Pull from Warrior's Staff, bearing only Edge applying burning where Snap Pull applies vulnerability. And of course, Guardian's version having shorter cooldown. You would think that the same pull but with shorter cooldown will have me soiling majority in anticipation. However, Blazing Edge will not cast unless you are directly facing your target. This seems like a tiny thing, especially considering you can bypass this by detargeting your enemy, and without targets this skill behaves exactly like Snap Pull. But that tiny detail will come up to bite you in the butt in close call situations or in strategically complicated fights. For example, one of tricks I like to pull off with Snap Pull is aiming at the enemy you have no desire to pull, only to whip it around towards the actual target. This way, you might not only catch your actual target by surprise, but also bait out an unnecessary dodge from the other guy. However, if you try to, for example, time that with an important boon like stability running out on your actual target, with Blazing Edge you have to do it blindly, where with Snap Pull you can perform the same maneuver without ever worrying about targeting. Moreover, you can't bait people into wasting dodges or utility if a skill doesn't have a recognizable CC indicator. Trying to pull off anything fancy with Blazing Edge is just making the simple task harder for yourself for literally no possible benefit whatsoever. This skill lacks the entirety of skill expression that Snap Pull has, and considering that Snap Pull skill expression already isn't substantial, we pretty much reached the point where Blazing Edge actually punishes the player for trying to use it in any creative way. Sure, dropping target is not a massive ask, but Arena didn't bother to give me a dedicated lose target keybind, and using next target continuously finds random ass sandworms out of bounds on Skyhammer, so I will fucking complain about it. Arena, if the token idiot who complains about Warrior all the time can say with zero exaggeration that something is an inferior version of a Warrior skill, then you have indeed severely fucked up. And if weapon is a combination of a strong contender for the worst auto chain in the game, directly inferior version of competing weapons skill, and directly inferior version of a bloody warrior skill, then it doesn't have a skill set. It has inferiority complex. And that just shouldn't be acceptable, no matter what class is cursed with its possession. Anyhow, a big sign of gratitude to all the generous supporters, continuously considering my dubious quality content worth their money. Your all truly welcome. Crabface, out.